Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today with another STAMPtember exclusive, this time from the Greeting Farm, and I used this to create a one-layer penguin scene card using the adorable images from this stamp set. So it comes with all of the sentiments, the snowflakes, the images, little accessories like the package or the candle. There's even a fireplace. I used many of the images from the stamp set, not quite all of them, but just about. We're actually going to start with a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches Bristol smooth cardstock and apply some Hero Arts Pool Party Reactive ink with this Simon Says stamp Waves and Hills stencil to create our background. I'm using the Bristol smooth cardstock as it's going to just give a really smooth application here. But also, I'm using a reactive ink. It reacts with water, much like a distress ink. And I'm also going to be using Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. These also react with water. So all water-based product here. Or kind of, anyway. But it's going to work. I'm going to be able to color over my stenciled background with my zigs, if that makes sense. Even being able to lift some ink. Let's say some of this blue ink is actually going through a penguin's face. I believe that does happen here in the video. So I'm going to be able then to kind of lift or move that around, or at least blend it out so that it's not bright blue in the background. And you're going to see that as I color. I'm using the Ink on 3 No Line Coloring Fade Out ink. And I'm going to do this a little different than I normally do. I've stamped one image and I'm going to color it in. I do this for really one reason only. I wanted to make sure this was going to work. And I left it in the video and I didn't refilm this part of it because I think it's important to show the creative process and show that sometimes things are hits, sometimes misses. This actually ended up working out really well. Wasn't super happy with the face, but I decided to go ahead and persevere and color in quite a bit of the rest of this and kind of come back to it and see what I thought. And I actually came up with a solution that I really love, and that's simply switching the color I used for the face. I don't know why I didn't think of that, because generally I do use a vanilla or very, very light beige for a penguin face, and I didn't do that to begin with, but look at how much of a big difference that makes. It really makes the face pop. That is actually the vanilla marker, the Zig Clean Color Real Brush marker, and I'm, again, addicted to the no line coloring with these. I love, love, love the look. I like not having the harsh line. And I think it's important. Oftentimes I will show this technique with much larger images. These are teeny. They're pretty small. And you can still achieve a great no line look even when coloring small images. So this first image was actually kind of my test image. It's really detailed. It's got all those little teeny tiny light bulbs wrapped around the boy and girl penguin. We've got all these different little areas to color, and it can be a little tricky. I also suggest this. I had laid out the stamps prior to this, so I do kind of have a general idea where I'm putting everything. So lest you think I just started, popping those penguins all over the place and didn't have a plan. I do have a plan, but I was really curious to see how it was going to work. I was also a little afraid that the lines would fade out before I could get it all colored. When I created this card, I had some other things going on, life things going on, and I actually didn't color it all in one sitting. I had to stop partway through. I went and did some other things. I came back, and I did that about 2 times during the creation of this card. So stamping it in waves probably worked out, because the darker the outline when you're coloring, for me anyway, the better the result. If I can see what I'm doing, where I'm going, I have a much easier time, because this line will fade out over time. It is the Ink on 3 fade out no line coloring ink, and it does fade out. You still are left with, you know, a little outline, I guess, but I think that's more from me tracing it with the marker than anything else. And so I think it's really important to note, if you don't have a dedicated amount of time and you are worried about maybe it fading too much to see the lines really well, don't be afraid to just ink part of it, color it up, come back when you can. You don't have to do it all in one sitting if you don't have the time. I'm taking a fine tip black pen then. This is actually a little bit bigger tip than I normally use, but just tracing out those lines of the lights, drawing in the eyes, eyelashes, all the things, just really making those faces pop. So that looks pretty cute, and at this point I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'll go ahead and do the rest of the card. So let's take our background and let's put in wishing you a Merry Christmas and the snowflakes. Let's ink those up with the Hero Arts Pool Party Reactive ink. We're not actually going to be using this as a reactive ink. Instead, it really complements the snowdrifts there in the background for this card. And then I'm going to stamp my other images. So we've got a couple more penguins, we've got our Christmas tree, and I went ahead and just going to kind of lay everything out here and play around with the stamps. As I mentioned, had a general idea, but sometimes I'm not always exactly sure where all I want to go with things. So I played around with it and I stamped a few more. At this point, this is really what I felt like I was going to use on the card. You will notice in the finished design, I have added another penguin. I've added the candle, and then we're going to add quite a bit more snowflakes, which I had planned all along, but I decided I better wait till I got that tree stamped. So I knew where not to stamp my snowflakes, so I could really stamp those all in the upper part of the card. Tree is being traced with light green ink and then blended out with yellow green. Definitely went bright and colorful for this card. So bright green, not a muted green. Bright green, bright pink, reds, teals, blues, orange, yellow, all of the bright colors. These are all my favorite color combinations. If you guys have seen any of my cards with these zigs, you probably have noticed that these are colors I tend to use over and over and over again. Definitely my favorites, color combinations I use over and over again, just because they make me happy. Bright, fun rainbow, always. So love, love, love all the color. As I add color to these penguins, you're going to just really see them come to life. And you can definitely see those snowdrifts through the image. But once I have colored, you don't see it anymore. And that is what I love about this no masking technique. I know I have shared several no masked cards here, especially recently, because I love when I can get by without masking. There's always a time and a place for masking, but if I can avoid it, I generally almost always will. And this is one of those examples where you can build a fantastic scene with one stencil, one color of ink, and a stamp set. And I love that. I love the challenge of just kind of creating this really fun card that has minimal supplies. I'm going to draw in things like ribbons around the packages. Don't forget to add detail to eyes. I tried to go penguin by penguin, and that's mostly because I'm using so many small images. I was fearful of forgetting something, and so I would just add detail as I colored and moved my way from the card from kind of the top to the bottom here. I just decided to go ahead and add detail as I went so that I didn't miss anything. And then I skipped down here to this other gift package. From here, I ended up skipping around quite a bit, just kind of wherever my heart took me in the moment. I am going to flip my paper around to just keep my hand out of the ink. So a little bit of this is going to be upside down. Not all, but some. Little pink cheeks on all of the penguins add a fun touch of whimsy as well. And I tried to mix and match the colors as I went. So just making sure to, keep that really balanced, I guess. So not everything has red accessories or pink accessories or teal accessories or green accessories. Just tried to mix it up so everything has, a nice balance of our rainbow of colors here. We'll finish adding in the color to this one. And he's holding a package, and this one gave me maybe a little bit more of, I don't want to say a problem, but pretty detailed as far as he's opening up this package and throwing paper everywhere, and so just had to work a little harder on that. And then let's get these 2 penguins colored in, and then from here we can guess what else we want to add to our card design. Feet and beaks are all bright orange, or bright yellow, and yellow, which is a color combination I use for orange a lot. Depending on how much of the bright yellow you use, which I tend to like it as an orange a lot, and the yellow just kind of balances it out nicely. Like this hat, I think it's so cute with the 2 little pom-poms on each corner. When my daughter was little, she had a hat like this, and when my youngest son was little, he had a hat like that. So that hat was really fun. I thought that was cute. Get it. Coordinating little scarf. Now, something I love to do with accessories, especially scarves, is add detail, but sometimes a white pin detail doesn't really translate great over the zigs. I will often take a darker marker or the darker of the 2 markers and add in details. So I drew in some stripes on that scarf with my light green marker after I had blended out, traced it with light green, colored it out with yellow green, and then went back over with light green to give that scarf a tone-on-tone stripe, which I think is really fun. You're going to see that in a couple other areas on this card. The coat that this penguin is wearing, I'm going to do a kind of plaid pattern, and then when I stamp my final penguin, I'm going to do some little circles on her scarf so that she has a polka dotted tone-on-tone scarf. Just adds a fun little decorative touch. So I'm just going back with carmine red on the coat here. It's like a little puffer coat, which is cute, and I love his hat. Adorable. Draw in the eyes, just kind of add a little more shading to the face. And let's now stamp our candlestick. And I've also got those snowflakes. As I mentioned, we're going to stamp those all over the top of the card. And I really felt like everything was shifted too far over to the right. So that is one of the reasons that I chose to grab another penguin and stamp that over there to the left of the card here in a bit. Just looking at it and trying to see where did I think it was off at. And that was one thing that I thought I could do to help balance it better, and I do think that it ends up helping quite a bit. So I've stamped my snowflakes, and I'm going to go ahead and color in the candlestick really quickly. And then it's about this point that I'm just like, there's something a little off. It's just so heavy over to the right. And that's when I made the choice to go ahead and stamp that additional penguin. I do like that candle though that this one's holding. I'm going to take a Stardust glitter pen, add detail to my snowflakes so they have a little bit of sparkle. Remember, this is a 1-layer design, but we want it to still have lots of fantastic dimension. And one way to achieve this is to add lots of finishing details. So we've drawn in cute faces for the penguins. We've made sure to be conscious of adding that detail to their faces. We've added some sparkle to the snowflakes. And we've got the stenciling for the background. We're going to have not only our stamped sentiment, but we're going to have a stamped and embossed sentiment underneath there. And then I did stamp that last penguin. I left a lot of the coloring out just to save time because it's very, very similar, but I am showing coloring in those polka dots for her scarf, as I mentioned a little bit ago. And I do know where I want to put that sentiment underneath the wishing you a Merry Christmas. I just waited until my coloring was done, so it's still in my MISTI. I can put my panel back in the MISTI, use my powder tool because we're going to add some embossing. So embossing is going to be another great finishing detail here that really elevates this card. We're going to stamp this with a clear embossing ink and heat emboss with silver embossing powder. And that's going to make such a nice difference here. Just a nice little addition to the card. Remember, we've got the little sparkle in the snowflakes, so the silver should really pick up and play on that. The final thing that we're going to do to really add some fun interest and finish off this one layer design is add a scattering of Nuvo crystal drops. And we're actually going to add those in a couple of different colors. We've got Sea Breeze and White Blizzard. So we're going to have an iridescent sparkle and then a translucent blue that really just has a tiny, tiny hint of blue that I think complements the Hero Arts Pool Party Reactive ink really nicely. And that's what I was going for. I don't want to add a bunch of color. We've got the blue snowflakes, but I want to add texture to the sky like falling snow on this fun little penguin scene. So this is the Sea Breeze, and I'm going to go through and add lots of drops. I think they're probably a little easier to see maybe when they are wet like this. As they dry, they're clear with just that translucent light blue look to them. And then we've got the White Blizzard, which is this sparkly, always my favorite. You guys probably know that if you've seen any of my videos. I use this one all the time. And that's going to add a little touch of sparkle. This panel can then be adhered to a white top fold card base to finish the card design. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this one layer penguin scene card featuring the STAMPtember, the Greeting Farm and Simon Says Stamp exclusive limited edition stamp set. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember exclusives for 2019. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making or paper crafting video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate it so much, and we'll catch you next time.